All right, beautiful. So we're recording and I'm going to hand straight over to Oliver, who's ready to get going on today's session.
Well, thank you, Rosie. Thank you all for coming and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you. It's one of the great pleasures of the job that I do. I've always enjoyed, talking to customers, meeting new people, and it still forms such an important part of everything that Rounded does to understand, what you guys need and how we can help you guys be more successful with your businesses. I'm one of the co-founders. I've been with the company since before we had our first paying customer way back in 2016. I'm coming up to 6 years with the company, and we've been focused on Australian freelancers since that time. So today I've got a few slides. I promise it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. What we like to do is just set a bit of context around SaaS. You'll hear me refer to SaaS, or software as a service, which is what Rounded is, which is essentially subscription-based software. I'm going to talk to you about some tips and tricks to allow you to help you to choose the right accounting software for your business. Start off by acknowledging that Rounded may not be suitable for all of you, and we're totally fine with that. But I'll give you some tips and tricks to make the best out of that. We'll talk about the general importance of accounting software and what you can expect to get for your business by investing in a tool such as Rounded, and then I'll finish off with a demo. And again, I can talk for hours and hours and hours about Rounded, and especially how it works and pushing buttons and everything else. What will really help to make this super relevant is if please use chat, please put your hand up, please tell me what you want to see, please tell me what you want to hear, and I will do my best to make this as relevant as possible to you. One small caveat I just have to give you is that I am not an accountant. I am not able to give you individual financial advice. I will not do that. I can answer, can Rounded do this? That's fine. Should I be doing this? Is a question that you should be asking the ATO or your accountant, just to make that clear. Now, just so I understand a bit more about where you guys are at, Rosie's created a very simple poll. If you could launch that now, Rosie, that would be great, just so that I can understand exactly where you're at. And just a question about how you manage your processes currently. So it sort of just gives me a little bit of a sense of where I need to follow. Okay. So this is sort of looking fairly typical of an audience that we would see when we are looking at a group of freelancers, in that the majority of people are often still using spreadsheets and manual processes. Hence the title of today's presentation, which is from Excel to Excellence, and just understanding a little bit more about really the concept of free not being free. It's really sort of easy to think when you're starting a business and you're not generating much income, I'm just going to use spreadsheets. I don't have that many invoices. I'm going to keep manual sort of track of everything. And then very quickly you realize that just leads to problems down the track. It hampers growth, and it stops you being as successful as you want to be. So that's going to be a big theme around today. So thanks. I'm just going to end the poll now. Thank you very much for showing that, and great to see that we've already got a couple of Rounded users. I'm sure that I did recognize a couple of names of people that I may have spoken to before, so welcome. So when I talk about SaaS, or when you hear about the cloud, it really is just somebody else's computer. Essentially, using the internet, you are able to use the internet to access products and services that are available online. Often that comes with storage. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Dropbox, Google Docs, iCloud. All of those are the things that are now ubiquitous in our lives. But essentially, a SaaS, software as a service, cloud, it's all the same thing, and it's just someone else's computer. Now, as you also know, there are any number of different options when it comes to accounting software out there, and all of you will need different things. As I say, at Rounded, we're sort of at peace with the fact we know who our ideal customers are. Thankfully, many thousands of them already are VAs, so we've got some good track record in that demographic. But we're always asked, especially if we're software people, and sometimes we sort of take that gain knowledge for granted, but there are a lot of people that aren't software people, and they're faced with logging on and they do a Google search for accounting software, and they're overwhelmed by ads and by this and by that and salespeople and free trials and this and that and different features and different price points, and where do you even start? And so one of the things I've said for many years of working in software is start with what you need. What does your business need? Don't think too much about the brand, the software. What is it that you want to accomplish? Is it that you want to send more professional invoices? Is it you want to reduce admin time? Do you want to be more prepared at tax time and track your expenses more efficiently? I would write down, start with writing down a list of absolute non-negotiables, and try and be judicious with that. Not everything can be non-negotiable because it's very unlikely you'll find a perfect piece of software. And the things that will be nice to have. The other things outside of that which are important to you as well is depending on the type of VA that you are, some of you will be trained in accounting and bookkeeping, so therefore might be looking for something more complex and more sophisticated. Some of you this may be the first time that you've even thought about formally running a business or anything that's required for that, so you may be looking for something that's sort of simpler and that kind of thing. So also be thinking about, how is a software company going to support you? What resources do I need? Is there, do I need somebody that's going to respond straight away? All of those sorts of things around, what you think is going to work best for you at the stage of business with the knowledge that you have. Now, most cloud providers will give you a free trial. Some you'll have to input your credit card in first. Some you won't. Rounded, you don't have to until after the free trial's ended. So again, a good tip is, if you do, don't be afraid to put your credit card detail in to get the free trial. Just remember that once that free trial ends, unless you cancel it beforehand, you will be automatically charged. So a little note in your diary to remind you of when your free trial, comes up. I'm a massive sucker for this when it comes to subscription services, streaming services. My kids want Disney Plus and Paramount and Netflix and this and that. So we've got free trials going everywhere. And if I don't have a thing in my camera, then all of a sudden I'm paying $150 a month for stuff that I've got no idea what it is. So don't be afraid to sign up for a few, just manage it properly. And the last point here is, again, I sort of broach this delicately because I am not in any way denigrating accountants or the very important advice that they provide. However, some of the larger accounting platforms, I'm sure you know the names, they also provide what's called practice management software. So accountants will run their entire practices using that one piece of software. And of course, there are several economies of scale and commercial reasons why they may want their potential clients to use that piece of software, because it's easier for the accountant. Some accountants don't care that much and are happy to use whatever works best for their clients. But we talk to users all the time that say, my accountant will only continue to deal with me, or I can only use this accountant if I use this particular piece of software because they don't use anything else. So if you ask your accountant, which accounting software should I use? Always good to understand that context about, why are you doing that? Do you use that for your business? Do you have any clients that don't use that piece of software? Just so that you can understand the context of where that advice is coming from. Now, I'm just looking in, I know that there's chat stuff. I haven't actually got that up on the screen, but Rosie, if there's any questions, for me, if you could let me know, that'd be good, and or you can just read them out perhaps to me, and I can stop.
No worries. You can ignore the chat. It'll just be us going, oh yeah, have you used it? That's
okay.
Cool. And just, it's all very chill. But if there's a specific question, I will pipe up.
Awesome. So what are you going to get out of accounting software? And I guess this is probably aimed at those of you that are perhaps still using Excel. I guess those of you that are already using accounting packages will probably understand some of this, but everything that Rounded does kind of falls into one of these three buckets. And of course, invoicing is the first thing, making sure that it's professional and consistent, and immediately using an accounting platform gives you automation features. So you can see what's been sent, you can see what's overdue, your invoice numbers increase incrementally so that you're not worrying about which invoice is which. Automated reminders both to you and your clients when things go overdue just helps you, gives you a bit of peace of mind. It means that you're not constantly worrying and fretting about all of this stuff. Again, one of the things that is well known now to reduce payment times is the ability to offer credit card payments. Giving clients the facility to pay by credit card online. There is, of course, a cost associated with that because the payment provider like Stripe or PayPal, whoever it is, does take a clip of the ticket. But again, in the long run, you have to work out, is 98% of an invoice within 7 days better than 100% of the invoice in 4 weeks? Obviously, that's a fairly idealistic way to look at it, but often it's as simple as that. Offering that additional facility to make clients easier to pay you is well worth it. And of course, any credit card payment fees that you pay are of course 100% tax deductible as well. So invoicing is really the engine of your business. Secondly, then of course there's expenses, and we often say expenses and managing your expenses can be the difference between profit and loss. So ensuring that nothing falls through the gaps and puts you in an advantageous position when it comes to income tax. Of course, especially if you have a lot of expenses, it reduces admin time. Again, automation features allow you to make sure that expenses are captured automatically. And for those of you that are on the way to growing really big and substantial businesses and are at the point where you are registering for GST, if you've had to go through do a manual BAS and be individually using a spreadsheet to try and pull out GST and create an activity statement, or even paying your accountant your hard-earned bucks to be able to do that, good accounting software like Rounded will automatically track the GST that you add to your expenses and your income and present you with the information at tax time that allows you to do your BAS in a couple of seconds. And finally, compliance is a huge thing. We're all sort of under that cloud of never knowing where we're going to get that knock on the door, and the ATO want to come knocking and audit your accounts for whatever reason. If you're able to provide the ATO with a structured, well-kept set of accounts using software versus a spreadsheet and a shoebox of receipts where things are sort of here, there, and everywhere, the ATO is going to be, much more confident that you're, you know what you're doing because you've got those systems and processes in place. And finally, and this is the last slide, no more slides, data and insights. A good accounting software will give you a dashboard, and we'll show the Rounded dashboard in a minute, that will show you how your business is performing year on year. It will give you the understanding of where your money's going, where your money's coming from. It will allow you to understand how much you should be setting aside for tax. It will allow you to invite your accountant to access your data and to make changes needed when it comes to creating your tax return. And it gives you the ability to make those decisions. One of the things I've learned about the world of VAs is that you guys have the most incredibly diverse range of skills. You guys put your mind to anything and help your clients in all sorts of different ways. And I know from having spoke to some that you might try something and you might offer a service for a bit and realize actually it's way too much trouble than it's worth. I'm not making any money out of this. I need to go back to this. Or actually, I've tried this, I've learned this new skill, and it's completely transformed my business and the way that I can support my clients. And being able to see the way that impacts your earnings, your expenses, in real time as invoices are paid and expenses are incurred, helps you make better financial decisions for your business. So as far as the slides are concerned and just sort of the introduction and context, that's it for that. So I can jump into a demo now. So before I do that though, are there any questions about anything I've covered? Again, in the chat, if there's anything at all that you guys would like to see in the demo specifically, are there any features or functions? Just please put in chat and I'll make sure that I can cover that off. But at the moment, I'll try and give you a quick overview of all of the main functions. Okay, so we've got a few coming in here. Fleur, void is my question. I'm not quite sure what that means. Shauna says she's interested in templates. We can't void an invoice yet. Fleur, I will cover that at the end. You are right, that's not a feature we have at the moment. I'll talk about that specifically when we get to the end. Marion, is the cost for one company only? So yes, so at the moment, Rounded supports businesses that go through one ABN for reporting purposes. So if you have multiple brands, you know, often we have a photographer is a great example. I know it's not quite you guys, but a photographer might have a corporate business and a wedding business, and they have different brands, but they're all part of the same business, and all the income flows through the same thing at tax time. So our template feature and our brand feature allows you to have different templates, different brands, different bank details, all of that kind of stuff. But if you have entirely separate businesses for reporting, the only way that we can support that is by you using multiple accounts. But we do offer a fairly substantial discount for additional accounts. So if that's something that you're interested in, I think Marion, you asked that question, we'll take that one offline. We can talk to you directly about how that works and anybody else. Now, Rosie, you've asked, can it be linked to Zapier? The question is not yet. I'll show you where our feature request, product roadmap and everything else is as we go through, but that's something that will be coming hopefully in the next sort of 12 months or so. But yeah, there's a lot of appetite for being able to link you know, scheduling, Acuity, Dubsado, you know, all of those tools I know you guys use to help manage your clients, and so we're aware that Zapier is a bit of a thing. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay. So guys, you can all see my screen. So Rosie, the chat's gone for me again now. Yep. So if there's any questions, please feel free to shout them out. So what you see when you log into Rounded, excuse me, each time, sorry about that, is the dashboard. This is a dummy account, so the figures aren't exactly consistent, but hopefully you'll get the idea. And what this allows you to see is where you're at from an income and expenses point of view. You're able to set you know, monthly financial goals. This is obviously whatever you want, but it's a nice visual reminder of where you're at. It will show you your top clients. It will show you your top expenses and where your money's being spent. And will also give you quick links to any of your invoices of any status that are around at the moment. Sorry, just moving this. I don't know why it's not moving. There we go. The incoming money tile shows you the status of your every single business and every single invoice that hasn't been marked paid. So it's got everything that's outstanding, everything that's overdue, everything that you've got in draft. If you're using the timer, it will show you any unbilled billable time in the timer and give you a total amount of incoming. And then of course it will show you this financial year. So your income, your total expenses, income minus expenses creates your taxable income for the year. And then your tax payable, which is a rolling cumulative number for the year. Now, the tax-free threshold, I believe, is a smidgen over $18,000. So this number will stay at zero until this number, the taxable income number, exceeds that tax-free threshold, and then it will begin to show you what tax you should be setting aside for the financial year. And last but not least, up here is the quick link. So if you come to the dashboard, you need to do something quickly, you send an invoice, an expense, log a payment, a quote, all that kind of stuff, create a new client. So that's the dashboard. The one thing I haven't shown you is bank feeds. I'll come back to bank feeds in a sec, because I want to show you how they connect and what it looks like. And then there's an impact to the dashboard as well, because it shows you your bank balances on the dashboard as well. So any questions at the moment about the dashboard or anything that you see?
It's so nice visually. Really nice.
Yeah, I mean, look, we designed it to try and be, you know, simple, appealing. And another thing you'll find in Rounded is we do our best to not use accounting-y terms. So for example, a chart of accounts is something that accountants will use. Essentially, that's an expense report that shows expense categories. So if I talk to you about a chart of accounts, most rounded users will sort of look a little bit blankly and not really know what it is. If I tell you it's an expense report, you know exactly what it is. Similarly with the debtor's ledger, sounds, you know, kind of, I don't really know what that is. We don't call it a debtor's ledger, we call it a list of overdue invoices, which is essentially, you know, the people that owe you money. So you'll find as you go through, we've tried to make it as unintimidating as possible and as simple as possible. So if we go back to the slides, we were looking at a few main things. I don't have time to show you everything. So again, if there's something in particular you want to see, please put it in the chat and I'll show you. So invoicing is the first thing. And with invoices, you're able to essentially create templates. Now, again, talk back to pricing. We have two plans, the starter plan and the pro plan. And there are differences in features with the starter and the pro. One of the differences is invoice templates. So if you go on the starter plan, one of the things you will not be able to do is create more than one invoice template. If you want multiple templates, you will need to go with the pro plan. But essentially, the template is where you add your business details. So your name, your logo. If I edit brand details, you can see you can add your name, your business name, your address, phone number, ABN, those sorts of things. And you can see this is called the hamburger icon here on the right, that if you want to reorder any of these fields, you can do so they appear nicely on your invoice. This is where your client details will appear. And obviously when invoices are issued, you can add stuff in the general description that will appear on every invoice. If you have packages, for instance, if you want multiple templates, you can pre-create those packages and just replicate those from the template to send to different clients. Your bank details, and of course a footer. Then if we look at styling, you can change the stripe color to whatever you want, and the heading color as well. So you can change the heading colors of the different fonts there. You can choose a different font. For those of you that are graphic designery, if you've got a specific hex color that you wish to add, you can do that too. And a few other options like, do you want to display the client address, ABN, the quantity column in the invoice? And for those of you that are sending invoices in foreign currency, I don't know if you can see that just down at the bottom, it says AU, but of course you can change currency for an invoice template. So if you have a specific template that you wish for overseas clients, you can stipulate that it should always be created in US dollars, for instance, rather than AUD. There's also a setting in a particular in the client record card. So you know, you can set currency on a client by client basis as well as a template basis. The other piece is attached files. So for those of you that have terms of business, you know, anything else that you wish to be attached to an invoice all the time, again, as a time saver, you can say, right, here's a PDF of my terms of business. I wish to attach that. So again, you can create as many templates as you wish. If you're on the starter plan, if you're on the pro plan, if you're on the starter plan, you can only have one. It's the same with quotes. You set up a quote template and an invoice template differently, separately. But again, you know, it's exactly the same process. So any questions about invoice templates? No? Cool. So once you've created an invoice, you'll then begin to see that in the main invoice section that you can see all your draft invoices. You can easily see those invoices that are overdue, and nice little things like if you only want to see overdue invoices, you can change the status there and it will show you. So you can easily see how long. We do have an automated reminder feature, which is very useful. And I'll just enter one of these invoices. So you can click the automated reminder feature. Oh, it's already overdue, so I can't activate it now. I should have created a new invoice if I, let me just duplicate this invoice.
Quick question.
Sure.
When you are in that invoice there, sorry, that star next to add line, what was that for? Was
yeah,
that
great question. Yeah, cool. I will get to that. Good question, Rosie. So you can send a reminder. When you activate the reminder, one reminder is sent to the client within 24 hours of the invoice becoming overdue. So obviously, if your client pays you and you don't mark the invoice as sent, remember that your automated reminders will still go, which can be a little bit awkward if the client has paid you. The other nice little feature here is client notes. This actually comes from the client section, which I can show you. So if you have specific prices or specific services that you add or notes that you need to remind yourself when you're invoicing a client, you can add notes there that appear. And if you update the notes here, they will also update in the client record card. Now, to your question, Rosie, the star here is for line item templates. Now, this is actually a feature that we had before invoice templates. So this is a little bit redundant now, but maybe for the starter customers. So what you're able to do is to create line items templates. So again, if it's like a service or a package that you give to, as a package that you might give to multiple clients, you could create something like this and then just add it to the invoice with a click rather than having to type it out or cut and paste it every time. But of course, if you do have that now, it's probably easier to do that at a template level. But again, so this was sort of a feature that was used probably a lot more before we introduced the invoice template feature. So again, ability to request deposits, ability to add a discount. We often get questions about this discount line of people saying, oh, I don't want that to appear on my invoices. But the good thing is if you don't use it, I'll just click preview now. You can see that it doesn't preview. There we go. It doesn't appear on the invoice if you don't use it. Yeah, so that's invoicing. Again, the experience of creating a quote is exactly the same. So I'm not going to go through that. And there are things like recurring invoices and that kind of thing. I'm probably not going to go too deeply into those. If there's anything that you see that we don't get to cover today, please feel free to get hold of the guys via live chat. You may have noticed this little window down on the right-hand side here. If you open that up, this is access to our help team. We've got Michelle and Roxanne that are available for most of the day. They're around from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Every Monday to Friday and 10 till 2 on the weekend. You're able to search our help articles. We've got in excess of 200 help articles that show you every aspect of setting up and using Rounded. And then, of course, there's a quick link here to product roadmap and feedback, which I'll show in a sec.
Oliver?
Yes.
It's Fleur speaking.
Hi, Fleur.
Hi. My question is that when you're pulling over from the time tracking, when you look at the time tracking, it will say 2 hours and 13 minutes, say. And then like I've just done an invoice which had that. And then when you look at the invoice, it has, 2.24 or whatever the equivalent is in hours. So it's really hard to see from the invoice side how many minutes it is and to round it up. I find that a bit of a flaw, and I have to have two windows open and have a look at what my timing was. And then, because I've just rounded an invoice from 13 to 25, you have to kind of use your brain a bit.
Yeah, and I know none of us like to use our brain that much, but
No.
look, it is, and I guess, look, that's just one of the things where you've got, dollars, which is a decimal amount, and hours and minutes, which is 60 minutes in an hour, which means that we have to do that calculation of working out, how many minutes as a proportion of an hour the minutes are, and at the moment there's no way around that. I think more broadly, the thing that may provide you with a small modicum of comfort is that the timer is probably now the oldest part of the system. And I say that because we are quite conscious that it's probably due for a bit of a refresh. Now, I can't say specifically that we will address that very thing, but the entire thing needs a refresh, not just sort of specific things. And we've had many years of feedback around, users that use the timer, and there's probably a lot of things that we can do to improve that overall experience. Can't say much more than that at the moment, but I guess just to acknowledge that we're under no disillusion about where the timer's at, and we know that it needs improvement.
Yeah, that is my other flaw with this system is, the timer is not perfect enough for me.
Yeah, and that's feedback we've had. It does cater for a fairly basic use case. When you look at the rounded timer and compare that to the sort of specific functionality of the timer apps that are out there, again, it doesn't compare, but I do believe that we can make the timer significantly better. And I know that the team is aware of that. So at some point, you can look forward to some improvements.
I'm happy to beta test for you.
All right, we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Cool. So that's sort of a bit about invoicing. There's lots of other little things, around invoice numbers and whatever, so I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but if you have specific questions about anything that you've seen, please get in touch with the team via live chat. You'll find them very responsive. The only other thing, of course, is of course for those of you that do track GST, GST is captured at an invoice level and an income level, and so I'll come back to how that sort of fits into BAS. I'm just going to jump into expenses. So obviously expenses, you can see this is where your expenses are added. And you can see that obviously you can create categories. You can create any category that you need. We give you some default ones, but if you need ones that are more specific to your business, you can jump in and create those. It's the same with vendors as well. This is where you spend your money. Obviously, you're all going to have different shops and you're in different parts of the country and you need different things. So you can create those too. And hopefully you begin to see a bit of consistency in the user interface in that, the panel slides out from the right. You can see how much it is, whether or not it includes GST. The business usage is very useful. So for things like rent or phone bill, where you may only be able to claim as a business expense a certain percentage or a certain amount of that, you can say, so if I've got rent or something, I'm only going to claim 50%. So what will happen is that even though you'll log the total, see I've just edited this now, you can see 50% there. So even though that you spent 250, only 125 is going to be added to your BAS and to your expenses for that. So you can see the total, but you also know that you've apportioned that as such. And then very similarly, the income page is the same. So this is the income that you log. So obviously this is separate from invoicing. So the invoice is the vehicle that demonstrates and describes the products and services that you provide to your clients with the costs involved. Once your clients have paid you and you mark the invoice as paid, they are logged as income records. So you can also add income without an invoice as well. So we have many users who might be a graphic designer or a VA, but they might also drive Uber on the weekend, or they might have a rental property or something like that, which is a business where they don't send an invoice, but they need to be able to capture that income too. So you can add income in the same way that you can add an expense without an invoice. So an income record can sit with an invoice, as you can see here, all these invoice numbers, or it can sit independently, as you can see, without a client. So it's very, very flexible.
Got a question from Chris saying, can you split an expense and have GST and GST free and GST on the item? For example, like if you've got a Woolworths receipt and some of the items are GST and some are not.
Great question. I was expecting something from Chris. I've spoken to Chris before.
Yes.
So Chris, great question. So there's a couple of things that you can do, and depending on what works for you. So say you spent 150 bucks at Woolworths, but you know, there's only some items have GST. You can edit the GST to reflect that. So you can actually change the GST to be less than 10% of the amount. Sometimes that can be confusing for some users. So the other way to do it is to create two expense records, to split the GST and the GST free out into two different records. So the GST component is actually 10% of the total. So it just depends on which way you want to do it. But either way allows you to input the correct amount of GST that will be added to that particular VAS period.
I never would have thought of that. Are we able to have a look at the bank feeds and reconciliation?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So bank feeds, and again, a little bit of context for those of you who use perhaps some of the larger solutions or are familiar with those at the moment. Our bank feeds are a little bit different, a little bit lighter touch. Some people love that, some people hate that, depending generally on how sophisticated they are. We use a third party to provide our bank feeds. That third party is called Basic. It's basiq.io if you want to do your research. They're an Australian company based in Manly. They are actually partly owned by NAB and Westpac as well. And what they do is they provide bank feeds. I'm also just going to preempt the conversation about security and how secure this is, because that always comes up. So when you go through this process, find your bank. We'll take the Commonwealth Bank, for instance, doesn't really matter. And what will be asked is you'll be asked to put your client number and your password in, which is the same credentials that you use when you log in directly to your internet banking. Now, the first thing that I'd like to make clear is that Rounded does not store these details anywhere in our system. You are giving this information to Basic. Basic store all of this highly encrypted and completely separately. So if somebody was to gain access to your Rounded account, there is nowhere in our system, even if they, bust us wide open, that they would find your bank login details anywhere within our system. That's number one. Number two is that the way our bank feeds work is that we provide read-only information. Okay, so in a second, I'll show you what the statement looks like and the information that you get, but it's read-only, which means that it is completely impossible for anybody to initiate any kind of transfer or payment from within your Rounded account. So that's probably the most concise way I can give you, the most concise information I can give you about how secure things are. Rounded is, 6 years old. We have thousands of customers all over the country. To this point, touch wood, we've never experienced any security issues with bank feeds of any kind in terms of security breaches or anything like that. That said, it would be remiss of me not to remind you all that this is the internet. Shit happens, excuse my French. So I can't promise you 100% that, nothing might happen. But, this is, I believe that the risk is being adequately managed by the solution, and the upside far outweighs the downside. So again, your level of comfort is something, I guess, for you guys. So that's probably it. Again, with bank feed security, if you've got sort of other questions, happy to take that offline. So once you've and now I've switched over to a different account. This is a staging account with a fake bank account. Once you've added your login details, you're then able to choose which accounts you wish to show. So for instance, you might not want to show a mortgage account, for instance, because it has nothing to do with your business. And you may only want to show, say, I just want to show my credit card for my expenses or whatever it is. And you click connect accounts. And the first time you do this, depending on the amount of data that gets sucked in, it might take a few minutes, but eventually what you'll see is something like this. On the right-hand side here, you'll see the balance of the card. If you wish to add another card or, re-add any of the accounts, you can do so there. And what you'll see is the list of transactions. Now, this should be fairly close to the list of transactions that you see in your bank statement. So things that you've spent, obviously income, and will allow you to do a number of things. So for instance, if we say, okay, well, I went to Woolworths and, to Chris's point, I want to add this to an expense. I can add this as an expense. I can choose my category, whatever it is, my vendor.
I see you can add the receipt file there as well. That was a question that was asked just before.
Yeah, that's fairly new. So you can add the receipt file. Also, this can be done via our mobile app as well. So if you're snapping pictures of receipts as well, that's really easy to do. Now, if you want to assign it to a client, what you're saying to Rounded is, this is an expense I'm going to on-charge. So if you assign it to a client, the next or current draft invoice for that client, this expense will be made available for you to add as a line item. And then you can click done. Oh, and the other thing, the other thing I didn't do as well is you can assign business use. And yeah, if you need to, I think if you need to update GST at this point, you would need to go in and do that. So you can see now that it shows the green tick that it showed as reconciled, and you've got the expense category there. Now, worth pointing out that what this has done is created an expense record in the expense section that you can see here, just like all the other expenses I showed you before. So if the expense is already there, if you've added it manually and you do it from the bank feed, and same with income, it will create a duplicate. So the bank feed is just another way to create an expense record. So all of the dashboard, all of the reports, everything that you see on the dashboard come from the main income and expenses section, as does the BAS. So this is just another way to create income and expenses. So for things like this, it might be, okay, well, I bought a drink from a servo. You might be able to add that as a non-business expense, so it doesn't impact your dashboard. It removes it from the list of transactions that are business transactions. Same with things like tax payments or account transfers. They can all be set aside, and they are business transactions, but they don't impact your P&L or your profit and loss. Same with income. You can add income. If there are any open invoices that are outstanding or overdue, you're able to connect them to the invoice, add an income category. You can even click to send a receipt to your client. It will show you the recipient there as well. And you can add it, and it will show you there. There's the invoice, there's the client, and it will show you that that income has been added. So there's no opening and closing balances, which I know causes stress and sleepless nights to lots of people to make sure that everything balances.
See, this is my definition of heaven, because I am the opposite of those people.
Yeah. So we'll look. So all of these transactions in their state right now bear no impact to your dashboard whatsoever. It's only when you add them do you create an income or an expense record that then gets added to your reports. And yeah. So there you can see the income and the expense that I've just added there, and you can see how it instantly impacts your dashboard. The other thing I just wanted to show you, of course, is that when your bank accounts are connected, you've got this additional tile on the dashboard which shows you the balances and your net position and forecasted position based on what's in your bank. Now, the final thing I wanted to show you was just reports. I'm going to go back to the other account here. I'm conscious that it's 5:02, so I'll try and wrap this up fairly quickly.
Thanks, Chris.
For those of you, and this is really important, for those of you that are registered for GST, Rounded supports quarterly simple BAS. And most of you will do simple BAS. I think that it's like businesses up to, I don't know, some enormous amount of $1 million turnover. So, not really freelancers. So essentially, when you add income and expenses that contain GST, they will get tracked in the quarter for which that expense date sits. So if you add an expense today on the 1st of February, that will sit in the BAS quarter that is for January 22 to March 22 up here. Now, essentially, the key to BAS is making sure that all your income is logged with the right date and the GST is tracked correctly, and the same with expenses. Now, to make sure of that, you may still need an accountant to go through and make sure that everything's in the right place. Because of course, the information that Rounded gives you is only as accurate as the information that you put in. However, assuming that your expenses are entered correctly, your income is captured correctly, Rounded will give you the 3 figures that you need to log into the MyGov business portal and submit your quarterly BAS, which is the G1, your total sales, 1A, which is GST on those sales, and 1B, which is GST on your purchases, on your expenses. And then that's the information that you need. And once you've done that, you can mark the BAS as complete. And there it is. So yeah, I mean, look, it's probably 4 minutes too. I don't know if there are any questions. I literally could go on for another hour, but I think, perhaps we get to the point where if you guys are comfortable that, the more specific questions the support team can answer one-on-one. Oh yeah, just the other thing, either from chat or up here, you'll see our roadmap and feedback, and I'll just slip over to that. Now, this is where our product team really gets all of our the input that we've got from our customers. So you can create new posts, you can browse through the posts that are already there, and you can upvote. So that means if somebody else has already created an item that you like, you can just click there and that adds one. So essentially we're looking in our product roadmap at a way that we can impact the most customers at once. Now, it's not to say, your very specific request, is not important to you, but we take the view with limited resources that if we can, do things that impact the biggest number of customers that we can, then we're going to be able to have the biggest impact on more people. So the roadmap tab then shows you what's planned, what's in progress, what's been completed, and the change log actually shows you when things get deployed. So just, not something you'll spend a lot of time on, but it's important for you guys just to know that it's there, and that you'll find that if you do add comments and whatever, that the product team are looking at that pretty much every day and will respond.
We've just had Julia was wondering if we could have a look at the time tracker.
Yes, the tracker. Yes, you can. Sorry, I'm just wrestling with the. Oh, there we go. Okay. Wrestling a little bit with the thumbnail thing that doesn't want to move. Sorry, don't know. Stuck right in the middle of my screen. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so the timer is fabulous for when you want to need to either demonstrate time and materials to a customer. If you're saying I'm doing a job and I'm going to charge you, $50 an hour or whatever it is, and you need to be able to demonstrate to them that you've done that in your invoices. So it starts with being able to set up projects. You can set up projects for particular clients, project name and a client, an hourly rate, and then you can give an estimated budget if you want. And then once you've done that, in the main time tracking section, you're able to start the timer. And you can see a way that goes. You can select a project and determine what you're working on. So once you stop it, you'll find that a timer entry is created, as you can see there. The stop button, also just nice little thing, is that if you need to answer the phone or you go and make a cup of coffee and you stop the timer, you don't have to create a new line item. You can just start it again there and it will pick up where you've left off.
Can you, I'm just thinking about what Fleur was asking. Can you, once something's been timed, you finished it, can you edit that time?
Yes, you can.
So why don't you do that, Fleur? Why don't you round up the time and then wouldn't that impact the invoice?
I do, but I have to see on the invoice firstly that my timing is 13 minutes, and then I have to go back to this screen and see that it's 13 minutes, and I can change it to 15 minutes. But it's not easy. Like, you know, on Toggle, this is where the system's flawed. On Toggle, you can see you started at 9, finished at 9:13.
Yeah.
You can't do that on this. So if you're doing, you know, 13 minutes every day, just pulling that out, it's hard to adjust and make it pretty, particularly when you're going in and out of clients every day, which is what I do.
So what
Does that make sense?
Well, I can't imagine a software program making it like if you want to round that up, unless there was an option to always round up.
I guess it would be easier if on your invoice you could see
so like
what
a
you've
field
done and you can adjust it easily.
So
And
like a field, so drop down field in the invoice that auto populates.
Yeah.
But that you can also edit.
Yeah, because even if I edit in the invoice, it doesn't reflect back on the timer.
Right. Okay.
True. So look, Fleur, I think this is probably one of those that we could, I don't know if you've spoken to this about this challenge that you have specifically before. So there may be ways that we can help you specifically. I'd say get in touch with the team and perhaps show us, you know, we can get into perhaps investigating it a little bit more. There may be a different process that we can suggest that sort of shortcuts some of these frustrations for you. But again, you know, I think the points that you make, you know, the comments around introducing a timestamp that says I started at 1 and I finished at 3, as opposed to just showing 2 hours, is a good one. You know, I would suggest, you know, maybe you could have a look through the feedback and add that feedback. It's certainly feedback that we've had before.
I think for Oliver, you know, in this group today, you know, my worries are you know, less, but in this group, you've got a lot of us testing out all the different programs, and a lot of people here use Toggle. And when you go from Toggle to this, you lose some abilities when it comes to tracking time. So that's, I guess, my only reason why I bring it up is everybody's using other things and these are the flaws, but you can work around them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, I thank you for your feedback, Fleur. You know, sometimes it's hard for us to know, you know, exactly how what we've built impacts, you know, everybody individually. So it's always good to hear, you know, the frustrations that you have. And as I say, just the broad acknowledgement that we know the timer could do with a lot of improvement, and we'll certainly plan to do so at some point soon.
Yeah. But, you know, Oliver, I chose you out of all the billions out there. So you're doing something right.
Thank you. I'm flattered.
You should be. She's the sort who is very picky and she tries to get everything for free. And so she's invested in your one, and that's a big compliment.
Excellent. Thank you, Fleur. All right. Any other questions or anything else you'd like me to show you?
I think that was it. There's no more questions in the chat. Just a couple of thank yous from people who had to duck off. But I think that gives people, I'm a bit annoyed that I don't have the choice to sort of move over, because my stuff's sort of too big in another program, because this looks so good and I love it visually. I love the flexibility that it has. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really good.
There was one question from Jenny about pricing. Is Jenny
Yes.
still on the call? I'll happily answer that.
So she was saying, yeah, so she was saying, if you want to jump on, Jenny, you can, but she was saying that between the pro and the basic level, or whatever it was called, so if she upgraded to the pro one, she doesn't need, you know, she'd want to do the bank feed, but she doesn't need GST element. Is there another level in the middle? Yeah. And I kind of responded saying that I was quite surprised that the price difference was only $5 per month between the two levels, and I kind of doubt that you would create another level that's like a $2.50 difference per month to cater for that. And that's because I have membership levels, and I know how hard it can be to balance that out.
So look, I mean, the only thing I'd say to that is I know that, and I'll answer Chris's question in a second as well. I've seen he's just put one in. The thing that I say, is like, again, acknowledging rounded isn't the cheapest option out there, and we're never going to be for a variety of reasons. But I guess what I would encourage all of you, especially those of you that are on Excel right now, and are thinking about making an investment and paying for something monthly or annually that you don't currently pay for, which is obviously adding an expense to your business, is try not to think about it in terms of just the upfront costs. We try to focus on value. So Jenny, for you, I would say, okay, it's going to be more, maybe more than you want to pay at the moment. But if you pay $5 more a month, and let's just say at the simplest level, rounded saves you an hour in that month of admin that you are doing on your business because you've connected your bank account, I would suggest that you would come out significantly on top over the course of a year in terms of save time, and that's the value that it is. And then maybe you might be at the point where you do get to register for GST, and hooray. Chris, will Rounded have payroll soon? No. Very short answer. We're never going to build our own payroll system. It's a total different kettle of fish, and we're just not payroll people. And it's not just the feature itself. It sort of philosophically means that we're moving away from our target audience, which is the freelancer, the ABN sole trader. What we may do with a thing like a Zapier integration is integrate with a tool that has its own payroll. So maybe a Xero or something like that will enable, integrated payroll somehow with Rounded. But again, to be totally, upfront, there's no plans, there's no discussion. We're miles away from that at the moment, and we have no plans really to broaden our horizons outside of freelancers and ABN sole traders. So, we do get asked that question all the time. We do get, customers that come to us, they start real small as a side business, and then 18 months, 2 years later, they've employed 2 or 3 people, and they've got they've gone through the GST thing, and then they need a tool that's more sophisticated than what we're capable of providing, and we wish those people luck, because they've built a brilliant business. So I think that at the moment we're focusing on our strengths, which is the ABN sole trader and the freelancer.
Yeah, I think that's excellent information for everybody. And Jenny's just commented, she can clearly see the value, and Fleur was saying that she's saved a lot of time with it as well. I think it's just one of those things that is very hard when you're starting out in business. It's kind of the cart before the horse sort of situation, or the chicken and the egg, and only you can make that call and work out, okay, like, do I go for saving time and having these systems set up and the processes, or do I just not have the money yet for that? And that's okay. You're the only one who can make that call, and you go with what works for you in the meantime. But having an awareness of what's available to you when your circumstances change is going to put you ahead of the game. So this is definitely a really great option for people who, that price point, you said you're not the cheapest, you're certainly not the most expensive. It's a very affordable software program that has a lot of really great things. And when you think about being able to follow up people automatically, having recurring invoices, having them looking really nice and professional, and having that seamless sort of process, that's it helps in terms of the respect that you will get from your clients, and making sure that they see that you take your business seriously. I mean, you can create really good things in other programs as well, but when we're using these programs, part of the benefit is that you're being presenting professionally, and that's worth its own sort of weight as well. Anything else you
Absolutely,
want?
and again, that's what the free trial's for. The other thing that we can be pretty confident is that it won't take you more than a couple of days to understand if Rounded is right for you. And it may be that, as to Jenny's point, it's right for you, but not right now. Put us through our paces, give it a test. As I said before, there's no credit card required. It's a free swing. Make the use of support and all of our help articles and everything else, and make us earn it. Make us earn your trust and your custom and your business. We're totally happy to do that, and to stand by the value that the app provides. And we look forward to talking to all of you and hopefully having a positive impact on your businesses.
Beautiful. And for those of you who want to have a longer free trial, make sure you check out the Virtually Yours conference, because Oliver's going to be giving our members a bonus trial length for people who come along to the Virtually Yours conference, so that they can check it out for even longer, which is so cool.
Yeah. And you've got that link already, haven't you, Rosie? So feel free to
I
share
have to double check that I've got it, but yes.
Do you want me to put it in the chat now?
If you've got it there, that would be fabulous.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, Chris says he's got something on that day. He's presenting. Cheeky bugger.
Okay, so this only works. I'm sorry for those of you who are existing Rounded customers, Fleur. This is for those of you that have not tried Rounded before. If you have recently set up a trial and you are not on a free, and you're still on a free trial, get in touch with chat and mention this webinar. In fact, my team, we're doing some upskilling work on presentation skills. So actually there's 2 of my team that have joined us today. So guys, if you're listening still, and anybody from the webinar gets in touch around this plan and they have recently set up a free trial, we can extend that to it so that you can get the additional time as well. But for those of you that haven't, and you're looking for another reason, another incentive to give Rounded a try, that's 30 days free, I think, which is roughly double what you would get on our website. As I say, completely free. You don't need to put your credit card in until the end of the trial, or until such time that you've decided Rounded's going to be a great asset to your business.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Oliver. That was fabulous. Great information, great program. Congratulations on creating it. And we look forward to hearing about your updates. Make sure you keep us in the loop about any of those things that do change the Zapier stuff, and the any sort of timetable, what was it, timer updates or anything like that. And we look forward to chatting with you soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. We'll make sure that
I think obviously, as a sponsor of your conference, we'll be around hopefully a bit more often, and able to talk to you guys and support you guys, and I'm not quite, we need to talk about the conference, but maybe there's an opportunity for me to give you some updates at that point, and maybe some other goodies, and who knows when the conference comes along.
We're always up for that. So excellent. I'll make sure the recording is available for everyone who's registered as soon as possible, and hope you all have a really good day.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.